Hey, good morning. I'm so glad you guys tuned in for Eric in the Morning. This is something that I just started. Last week I walked through Philippians every morning. Around 7 a.m. I post a video. It's just a devotional thought for the day. Many of my friends at Heartland Community Church have been tuning in, and so you can pass this along to anyone that it might be an encouragement. I thought that as we dive into this week, we might turn the corner and look at a different passage. Because here's the question we all wrestle with. What kind of person do you really want to be? I think we've all been cooped up long enough with our own thoughts that this has probably crossed your mind at least once. You've probably snapped at your wife or threatened to kill one of your children. Like, this cooped up environment we're in has caused a lot of angst, but it's also caused, I think rightfully so, some introspection. Where we begin to ask ourselves, what kind of person is it that I want to be? What is my relationship with Jesus, and what kind of person should it create? Because here's the truth. We don't want to just be people who try harder to somehow modify our behavior in such a way that people look at our lives and go, oh, he's Christian, because here's what ends up invariably happening. We try really, really hard until we fail. And then we fail, we get frustrated, we quit until we just resolve once again, maybe I'll try a little bit harder. See, the goal isn't to modify our behavior. The goal is to become the kind of people that the behavior that flows out of us looks like Jesus. That's the goal. I think that's what all of us want. We want to be able to walk out of this crisis or walk through crisis like this and be the kind of people that look like Jesus. It doesn't mean you get it perfect. I don't. I've made lots of mistakes. But I do want to be the kind of person that ultimately reacts and responds like Jesus would. And so, in an effort to answer that question, over the days ahead, what I thought I'd do is dive into the most famous sermon ever given. It's found in Matthew chapter 5, and it's given by Jesus. It's called the Sermon on the Mount. And here's what I think. I think this sermon points our hearts towards what it looks like to pursue Jesus. Now, it's not like a law. It's not like if you do all these things, somehow you'll be set right. Rather, I think it's more of these guidelines that we can follow, like a pursuit after the Father's heart looks like this. If these things become incorporated in our life, these elements of the Sermon on the Mount, maybe we become the kind of people that just look like Jesus. That's the goal. So each day, I'm going to take a different element of the Sermon on the Mount, and I'm going to dive into it. And then I'm going to give you some homework, some things you can think on that day. Today, we start simply by just reading what was happening. Sermon on the Mount is Matthew chapter 5, and it says, seeing the crowds, Jesus, he went up on the mountain, and when he sat down, his disciples came to him. He opened his mouth, and he taught them. Well, we're going to hear straight from Jesus over the next few days of what it is he wants to teach us. And I'm hopeful that you and I will begin to be grounded in the reality that we can become the kinds of people that look like him. That this might be the beginning ingredients to wrap our hearts around. So I want to challenge you today. Maybe you open up the Sermon on the Mount, pull out your Bible as soon as we're done, and I want you to read through all of chapter 5, Matthew chapter 5. It's 47 verses. I want you to read it all. I'm excited to dive into that together, to dive into all of this, each of the different areas, each of the different teachings, and to learn together about Jesus. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow as we start to dive into Jesus and the Sermon on the Mount.